I've worked at a desk with a computer for most of my life, from dial-up Windows 98 to the latest Apple Silicon chips. I've always tried to design my workspace to be as clean and as productive as possible. When I came across the Hexcal Studio, I was interested in its cable management capabilities, charging, and light bar for working at night. Hexcal reached out to me and see if I would like to review one of their studios, but they're not seeing it before it goes live, and all these words are my own. Let's go over the pros and cons of the Hexcal workstation, and then I'll tell you what I think of it at the end. One of the main pros for the workstation is that the Studio has 8 AC outlets on the back that are spaced so that you can use all of the outlets even if the power bricks are larger than normal. On the bottom left side of the Studio, there are 3 USB-A ports and 1 USB-C port. The USB-A port is a quick charge port, and the USB-C is a 9-volt, 3-amp power delivery port. I've been using the USB-C port to power my MacBook Pro or my Sony cameras while I'm live streaming. I have a whole video going over the different powering options for Sony cameras, and if you've seen that video, you'll know I love 9-volt, 3-amp power delivery ports. Weird, I know. But I'll go over the other 2 USB-A ports in a second. On the top left of the Studio, there's a wireless charging pad built in directly to the top. You're able to charge 2 different devices at the same time. I've been using it to charge my Pro Max iPhone and my AirPods Pros at the same time. I love the clean look of the wireless charger being built in directly to the top side of this. I've used wireless chargers in the past and I've had to run a separate cable up to my computer, and they can only charge 1 device at a time. I like that this is built directly into the Studio and I can charge 2 devices at once. There's also a power supply that's rated at 1440 watts that regulates all the power to the ports and the outlets. If a power surge happens, the power supply will trip its breaker to protect all of your devices. You can reset the circuit breaker on the back of the Studio to safely restore power to all your devices if that happens. Going back to those 2 USB-A ports on the left side of the Studio, these are internal pass-through ports that allow you to keep your external hard drives inside of the Studio and connect to your computer using one of the exterior USB ports on the outside. This is nice to keep your hard drives concealed and out of sight on your desktop. I wish one of those USB-A ports was a USB-C port so we could really utilize those fast read and write speeds, but it is nice to be able to conceal 2 hard drives. Another feature of the Studio is the built-in cable management. If you have a ton of cables under your desk, this is a huge plus. I have a lot of stuff under my desk and plugged in on top when I have to charge a lot of cameras and batteries, so I usually have a lot of cables all over my desk, but I've been able to keep the excess cables inside of the Studio out of sight. Using the cable management channels, I only pull out as much cable as I need and everything is nice and tidy. The cable management channels are snug as well, so the cables won't easily slide out if I move this around. Since the Studio itself is powered, you have these outlets and USB ports that you can plug in all the other devices to. You're not plugging things in under your desk and then routing them above your desk. You can keep all of your power supplies in here and plugged into the back, so there's only 1 cable running below your desk, which makes a really clean appearance. It's been an easy way to force myself to have a cleaner desk. Moving on to the light for the Studio, there's a 39-inch light bar on the front. This light gives off diffused light that can help with eye strain for working for multiple hours in low light conditions. It can change brightness, color temperature, and range of light it throws off. You can customize the light to save multiple brightnesses and color temperatures. I've used light bars before that you put on top of your monitor and they cast light down to your keyboard before. This is another wire to your monitor, and if it's too high, you can see the light coming out of the light bar on top that's supposed to eliminate eye strain, but it ends up causing more eye strain over the series of a couple of hours. The light bar being closer to where the light is actually shining makes a lot of sense, especially for this device. The build of the Studio is very sturdy and well thought out. It's a solid piece of aircraft grade aluminum with stainless steel legs. It can handle up to 1,000 pounds, so it can support the heaviest monitors and accessories with ease. The latches and lid feel strong without any play in the parts once they're locked in. The device ships with shorter legs installed, but if you need more clearance for your keyboard, you can use the included risers that come with this Studio. The risers will raise the Studio up about 1.25 inches. The higher legs are stored in a hidden compartment and screwed into the Studio. So those are the pros for the Hexcal Studio, and when it comes to the cons, there's really one major con and a couple small nitpicky things. The first and biggest con of the Studio is, unsurprisingly, the cost. This costs $899 USD. It's a very premium product with a lot of features and premium materials, so I understand the premium price tag. But this is going to be one thing that people have a hard time with. For most people, I can see this being the toughest pill to swallow when it comes to the studio. A small con for the studio is when you have a monitor or other things on top, if you want to get inside of the studio, you'll have to take your monitor and everything else off to remove the lid to get inside. I already have my monitor on a monitor arm, so this really isn't a big problem for me, but if you're not using a monitor arm, this is something to keep in mind. This next one is a pretty picky negative, but the bottom of the studio is a little shallow if you're not using the extended feet. I can fit my lower profile mechanical keyboards under here, no problem, like the Vermillo VB87M, but my higher mechanical keyboards like my Kira or my MX Master mouse can't fit all the way under the studio without the feet being there. Again, there are included feet in the box, but it's one thing I wanted to mention since this is such a premium product. Any little nitpicky thing I could possibly think of, I wrote it down and I wanted to include it in this video. The Hexcal Studio is a premium product with a premium price tag to go along with it. I've enjoyed using it as I find it really difficult to keep things tidy when I have to charge so many things all the time. It's not uncommon for me to have 5 or 6 chargers going during the week, and having so many devices always plugged in, it is nice to be able to route them to the certain places I need to keep everything clean when I don't need them, but easily accessible when I do need them. The light bar is another part I've been really using a lot. The customizable color temperature and brightness has been awesome. I use bright white during the day and I use a warmer color at night. It's nice that I can just toggle through all of these favorites with the press of a button, and I don't have to remember all of these things or use these buttons and fine tune all of them. I can just press my favorites and go. I like the overall aesthetic as well. It's sleek without being overbearing with RGB or colors that really stand out. It's one of the first things people point out when they come in my office. I wish there was a pass-through port with USB-C overtaking one of those USB-A ports, but if I'm using my MacBook Pro or my MacBook Air, I'm usually using a hub for wired internet anyways, so that has USB-A ports on it, so I've just been using the USB-A to USB-A ports for any devices that I need. What do you guys think of the Hexcal Studio? Let me know in the comments down below, and if you like desk upgrades, check out this Grove Made video about some premium office products. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.